Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys liked my videos. This is a story about what if Naruto was a Super Saiyan. Bardock is about to die, but a dimensional rift when the Yondaime summons death god the Shinigami pulls him into the Naruto world and onto Kyuubi's back moments before the ceiling. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and leave a like and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic and support them for making this fanfic. Now let's start. Chapter 5 Slugging it out. Naruto landed gracefully on the ground outside of the last known city where Jiraiya's spy network had told the spy master where the Sannin was located, and the Saiyan looked around the city while trying to sense the woman somewhere hidden within it. Letting go of Jiraiya's hair, which in turn freed Jiraiya from his grip, Naruto let Hinata free, and saw the shy girl still blushing from such close contact with him. Still, she wasn't feeling alright due to her injuries, and Naruto had his tail wrapped around Hinata's waist to ensure the Hyuga didn't stumble. As for Jiraiya, well, he was currently making sure all his hair was still there, and with no apparent bald spots. Ladies see bald spots in hair and it freaks them out. Jiraiya didn't know any hair-growing jutsus he could use, and he doubted any such jutsu existed since the Sandaime Hokage never used it on his own scalp. "Don't do that," said Jiraiya while pointing a finger at Naruto. "What? You wanted to find Tsunade to become the next Hokage and I'm helping you. So what if it cost you a few dozen if not 100 strands of hair?" said Naruto with a smirk, and Hinata just giggled at Jiraiya's seething face. "I'll get back at you for that," said Jiraiya while Naruto just smirked. "You can try," said Naruto while walking into the city with Hinata right beside him with his tail holding onto her like a lifeline should she fall over. "Damn Saiyan," said Jiraiya under his breath before following the two. "I can't use my Byakugan due to our close proximity together, Naruto-kun. Your power is very strong," said Hinata while hoping he didn't hate her for not being useful. "It's all right, Hinata-chan. You're not here to help find Tsunade. You are here to be treated by her," said Naruto while seeing her blush simply at the girl's face. "I still want to help and be useful," said Hinata while finding herself not stuttering in his presence right now. "I know, but for this mission, you are simply the patient, and should not strain yourself unless necessary," said Naruto while sensing her hands were playing slightly with his tail and had to fight back the shiver of pleasure she was generating from it. "My condition aside, Naruto-kun, do you really think Tsunade-sama will become the new Hokage and lead the village?" said Hinata while Naruto just frowned in thought. "I honestly don't know. We won't find out until we meet and ask her to take the position," said Naruto with Hinata nodding in agreement. "It won't be easy, you two. Tsunade has lost a lot of love for the village after all her loved ones died. She would have stayed if Sarutobi-sensei hadn't lied to her about you being dead, Naruto. I suspect the old man did it to make sure you weren't raised properly by one of us since we were your appointed godparents by Minato and Kushina in the event of their deaths," said Jiraiya with Naruto growled angrily while feeling he had given the old Kage a merciful death compared to what was deserved. Perched on a roof, two figures watched them with interest, and the taller one grinning a shark-like grin at their target. The shorter man had an unreadable face, his dark eyes were seeing everything around him, and currently focused on the target with the tail. Neither of them understood how their target got a tail, nor did they really care since both believed it was a side effect of holding Kyuubi, and just filed away such information for their leader when they got back. "He looks different than what our spies in Konoha told us, Itachi. The Gaki is giving off a lot of power. It's making Samahata hungry," said the taller blue-skinned man. "I know Kisame. I feel his power too. It's different from Kyuubi's chakra though. I don't know what it is, but we will have to handle this carefully," and without hesitation due to Jiraiya of the Sannin's presence, said Itachi while seeing his partner grin hungrily for battle. "And the Hyuga?" said Kisame seeing Itachi focus on the girl and seeing she was being supported by their target to a degree on account of some injury. "We quickly knock her out. She is of no value to us or the organization. Any other kind of involvement with the Hyuga girl would direct Konoha at us, and Pain-sama does not want that." "Not yet," said Itachi before they moved quietly to take their target from under Jiraiya of the Sannin's nose. Naruto stopped and turned his head slightly to look behind him and frowned while his senses told him someone was watching them. Naruto himself more precisely. The one with the higher power level was oozing bloodlust, and it was clear the man with the sword had the urge to kill. The other one, surprisingly not so much, if not at all. "Naruto-kun," said Hinata while looking where he was glancing and wished she could use her Byakugan to help him. Jiraiya was looking too and frowned. Or being followed, said Naruto while his tail instinctively tightened around Hinata's waist. By who? Said Hinata, as her first thought was Kumo wanting the eyes she possessed, or herself to become a breeding factory. I don't know. They were aiming their intentions at me, said Naruto seeing the girl was a bit nervous at facing a pre-verbal demon from the past in the form of Kumo Shinobi if the village was using this opportunity to grab her. We still have to find Tsunade. For the moment, we'll ignore them, but keep an eye out for anyone suspicious, and hurry in our search for Tsunade before things become even more complicated, said Jiraiya with Naruto frowning, but agreed nonetheless since he had to consider Hinata, and one more Sannin meant better odds of the injured girl not being harmed on this mission. What does she look like? Said Hinata while trying to steer everything away from their mysterious observers. Blonde hair, sharp eyes, jewel on her forehead, and a pair of breasts the size of said Jiraiya, as he dodged the energy blast Naruto sent him, and it almost took a sizable chunk of his hair off. Keep your perverted thoughts to yourself. Besides, I can sense her power, and it's in this direction, said Naruto while Jiraiya grumbled before seeing them head to what many would consider the party district of the city. Tsunade loves to drink and gamble. She sucked poorly regarding the latter. Hence her title is, the legendary sucker, said Jiraiya with Naruto scowling slightly at hearing such vices. Drinking he didn't mind, but the gambling, then losing, and not having the sense to stop when you're behind. Unacceptable. If she loves to drink like you say Godfather, then Tsunade is in one of these bars, and enjoying herself, said Naruto while trying to pinpoint the woman they were searching for in the city. Chances are she blew her money at a casino earlier and is now drowning her sorrows at the loss of so much currency, said Jiraiya with Naruto scowling slightly. She doesn't know the meaning of the word sorrow, said Naruto before sending out a harmless pulse of his power forward and felt the wave of energy clash with the people in front of him. The weaker people would shiver, a sense of something ominous, or even foreboding was in the area to make them move along faster than usual. A stronger person like Tsunade would let out a defensive pulse on instinct, her awareness would be awakened to the fact someone powerful was in the area, and unknowingly lead him to her. It was like sonar bats used, but with energy, and something Naruto thought of while looking at the busy street in front of him with bars on either end. Sure enough, Naruto felt a powerful pulse of chakra from a bar not that far away from them, and surprisingly another one manifesting seconds after the first. Following the source of the two pulses to a bar where Naruto saw a blonde-haired woman drinking sake with another woman with dark hair holding a very pampered pig. Both women were tenser with the younger woman looking concerned since she didn't know what that was they just felt. Tsunade, said Jiraiya calling out to he blonde while moving ahead of both Naruto and Hinata to greet his old teammate. Jiraiya. What the hell are you doing here? Said Tsunade seeing her old teammate walk in with his smile that could scare a million women to the other side of the world at her. What? I can't walk into a bar, looking for a drink, and be surprised to see an old friend, said Jiraiya with Tsunade frowning at him. Not when I know your spy network can easily track me down, said Tsunade with the man laughing like he had just been caught. True. Still, it is good to see you again Tsunade, said Jiraiya though his grin lessened. Why are you here? Said Tsunade while seeing him becoming completely serious now. You need to come back to the village Tsunade. You need to come back, to become the next Hokage, said Jiraiya while Shizune gasped and Tsunade's eyes narrowed. Before she broke out laughing. Ha! Are you serious? What makes you think I would even consider the job? The title of Hokage is for fools rushing to their deaths. The only exception is Sarutobi-sensei to the rule, said Tsunade while Jiraiya rubbed the back of his head nervously. Correction Tsunade. Sarutobi-sensei was the exception to the rule, said Jiraiya with Tsunade's eyes widening at hearing the news and what his tone implied. You mean he is, said Shizune seeing Jiraiya nod. Dead. Died during the invasion Orochimaru planned during the Chunin exams, said Jiraiya seeing Tsunade just staring him in the eyes while looking for something. Who killed him? You could have easily said it was Orochimaru, but you didn't, and that means someone else did the deed. Who? Said Tsunade while seeing two kids behind Jiraiya walk up to their table. It was me, said Naruto having heard their entire conversation. You. A mere child, said Tsunade in disbelief while Naruto merely smirked. Is it that so surprising for someone like me to kill that old fossil? Said Naruto while Tsunade narrowed her eyes dangerously at him. Watch what you say about my sensei brat, said Tsunade while Naruto just smirked. Why? The old man tried to manipulate me all my life to be his little weapon and be the Leaf's punching bag. He even lied to you about your godson being dead, said Naruto with Tsunade's eyes widening. What did you just say? Said Tsunade to Naruto while just noticing the girl beside him was a shy Hyuga. You heard me. Tell her Jiraiya. Tell her what you told me when walking into the city about how the old man basically screwed us both over to ensure one of us would be made the village pawn and punching bag, said Naruto with the toad Sannin letting out a sigh. It's true Tsunade. Sarutobi-sensei lied to keep us from raising our godson, said Jiraiya while Tsunade looked like she was ready to have a heart attack. So my godson is alive. What does he look like? Said Tsunade seeing Jiraiya smirk at her. See for yourself. He's standing right here, said Jiraiya pointing to Naruto with Tsunade and Shizune looking at him with jaws dropped. That's my godson, said Tsunade seeing the Saiyan blonde in all his greatness with his arms crossed. Oh like you're some kind of great thing yourself when it comes to godmother material, said Naruto seeing the Sannin growl at him. Watch it brat. I may be slightly drunk, but I can still kick your ass all the way back to the Leaf, and leave an imprint of my foot to prove it, said Tsunade while Naruto smirked at her. You are so sure of yourself Tsunade-chan. You would actually hurt your own godson, who you have known for only a few minutes, and that was before knowing I was your godson too. Your body may not look old, but your mind sure has aged, and badly I might add, said Naruto seeing Tsunade looking pissed off. That's it. Outside brat. I'm going to beat you up and put my foot up so far up your ass you'll be my living flesh cast for my entire leg, said Tsunade while Naruto just grinned at her and Jiraiya sighed in defeat knowing this was going to happen with these two. Once outside, which was surprisingly deserted, the two shinobi squared off against the other with an air of confidence in both of them, and each with the strength to smash a building into rubble with a single strike of their fist. Tsunade was still a little drunk, but nothing a little adrenaline from what she surmised would be a simple warm-up against a simple genin, who got the drop on an old man, and needed to be humbled despite what Jiraiya told her about their sensei. You really want to do this? I'm giving you this one chance to back out now before I do something humiliating to you, said Naruto while Kyuubi was whispering to him what he should do to such a woman with no real respect for her grandfather's beliefs. Do it Naruto-kun. What better way to humble this spoiled child, than to punish her like a spoiled child, said Kyuubi while she giggled perversely while sensing Naruto agreed with that statement. I guess so. It worked for Nara Yoshino in getting her son to do what she asked when he was being too lazy for his own good, thought Naruto while hearing the fox let out more giggles in the back of his mind. Arrogant brat. I just have to use one finger to beat you, said Tsunade confidently while holding her right hand up with just her index finger point up. Tsunade-sama, you really shouldn't do this, said Shizune worriedly while Naruto just grinned further. I'd listen to the lady if I were you Tsunade-chan. She's clearly much sharper than you. Much prettier too, said Naruto knowing that would set the slug Sannin off and could only smirk seeing Shizune blush at him saying she was pretty. Oh that's it, said Tsunade, as she slammed her finger into the ground to make a massive crack form while shaking the earth around them, and reminding those that knew her of the strength she possessed. Incredible. Even after all these years she hasn't lost her touch, thought Jiraiya while the phantom pains his body felt from past beatings from the woman filled his mind. As for Naruto, he merely elevated himself into the air a few feet off the ground, and just smirked at the now shocked Sannin. Her shock turned to anger when the blonde Saiyan motioned Tsunade to come at him with just the one finger she so boastfully claimed was enough to defeat him. Moving forward, Tsunade decided to forego the use of just one of her fingers, and just pound the gaki with one of her fists instead while putting the fact he could actually fly in the back of her mind for a later date. Come on Tsunade-chan. Surely you have more skill in fighting than just swinging your fists around like a drunken brawler, said Naruto while moving left and right to easily dodge the woman's fists. Tsunade may have the strength to level a whole mountain, but none of the finesse needed to make contact with someone with the speed needed to dodge, and make her look like a clumsy drunken oaf. Stop dodging and take your beating like a man, said Tsunade while Naruto just dodged one of her strikes and moved further away from the Sannin with that grin never leaving his face. Funny. I could say the same about you. Are those things even real or did you just have surgery? Said Naruto, making Jiraiya go pale, and helped Hinata take several steps back while he along with Shizune did the same. You are dead, said Tsunade with her line of sight now colored red with rage at this brat making fun of her wonderful breasts. Wonderful breasts she had earned after years of being called flat chest, in her younger teenage years, worked to make them the greatest sight a man could ever imagine seeing beyond the clothes she wore, and had made many males fall to their knees because of what they imagined in their perverted minds. Jiraiya was proof of that, and he was the self-proclaimed super pervert. How dare this kid, not even old enough to shave, mock her breasts, and accuse the slug Sannin of having surgery to make them like this. They were all natural, damn it. All natural. They were real and they were spectacular. So that's yes. Maybe no, said Naruto while dodging her angry fists of female fury and knew Tsunade had finally lost it. Any further mocking ended however, as Hinata had let out a cough, and could no longer hold herself steady due to her current condition. Turning his head slightly to see this, the blonde Uzumaki for a Saiyan ignored the look of triumph on Tsunade's face, and let the woman land her long-desired punch to his face. Not that it did much. Everything shook around them, as the fist made impact with his face, and Naruto blocked it out to look at Hinata while Shizune began to run a diagnostic jutsu on the girl. Seeing his main reason for this trip coughing again brought Naruto's attention back to Tsunade, who was shocked to see the Saiyan was still in the one spot without so much as budging a single inch, and not even showing signs of being in pain. How is this possible? No one could stand a hit like that and not feel it, thought Tsunade, as she saw Naruto look from Hinata to her, and he was clearly no longer in the mood to toy with her anymore. Remove your fist from my cheek. It's being troublesome like your sake-smelling breath, said Naruto while Tsunade's eyes widened and then narrowed in anger. Shut it, brat. You claim to be my godson, but we both know the village would just treat him like a spoiled child, and the fact you killed Sarutobi-sensei makes you nothing more than an ingrate, said Tsunade, as she drew her fist back, and planned to punch Naruto even harder. Only for Naruto catch her hand easily. Ingrate, said Naruto before closing his hand tightly over her fist. Oh no. Bad choice of words, Tsunade, said Jiraiya to himself while Shizune looked from Hinata to the toad Sannin, and then over to the two combatants. If anyone is an ingrate, it's you. If anyone has been treated like a spoiled child, it's you. And if there is anyone that deserves to get punished like a spoiled child, it's you, said Naruto before pulling Tsunade's outstretched arm and kneed the woman in the gut with the leg still supporting her after hitting the Sannin with the blow. Such power. Is this what it's like to be hit by one of my punches? Thought Tsunade, as she had always taken a sense of pleasure in being able to punch Jiraiya clear through an entire city and into another country. Now though, she was finding a new line of respect for her fellow Sannin in taking such a hit from one of her own punches. However, Naruto wasn't done with Tsunade yet, as the fox inside of him had basically suggested with a hint of perversion in his voice on what to do, and while the Saiyan was against it at first, the slug Sannin's behavior showed she had more than earned this particular attack. You want to put a boot to my ass with a hard enough imprint for everyone to see, huh? Well, I think I can do something that will top that, said Naruto, as he grinned evilly at Tsunade, even if she couldn't see it, and grabbed top of her pants, before pulling them down. What hell do you think you're doing? Yelled Tsunade, struggling to get free before feeling her panties get yanked down too and increasing her efforts before the Saiyan grabbed her arms with one hand holding them both behind her back. Jiraiya could only look on with a sense of pride in his godson in doing what no one else would dare do to Tsunade. Poor Hinata fainted with a red face while Shizune looked on in horror and getting ready to interfere on behalf of her teacher. Giving what your mother or father clearly didn't have the brass to do when it came to you when growing up, said Naruto before raising his hand and after a dramatic couple of seconds, brought it down right on her exposed rear end. Smack, 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 smack. The sound echoed throughout the abandoned streets of the city, a small mercy granted to Tsunade knowing there were only a handful of witnesses in seeing her utter humiliation in being spanked like a child by a child. To make it even worse, the brat's hits to her butt actually hurt, and not just simple sting hurting either. They hurt like some was using a paddle with dulled spiked tips that further enforced pain, but never broke skin, and each hit brought Tsunade closer to tears. Jiraiya was being his usual perverted self by watching with drool overflowing from his mouth and blood from his nose at seeing her humiliation at the hands of Naruto. As for Kyuubi, she was having a giggling fit knowing her suggestions to Naruto not only stuck it to the Senju clan for helping in her imprisonment after the Valley of the End, but helping her vessel in another sense, and no one would know what that was until later on. For with each strike to Tsunade's nicely shaped, in Kyuubi's mind, rear end, the fox was able to let out a small bit of her chakra into the woman, and designed it to travel upward to the seal on the blonde woman's forehead from what Kyuubi knew of the Sannin since her days within Uzumaki Kushina, and with each loud smack was a means to an end to ensure Naruto got something wonderful from this perverted event in the long run. Release Tsunade-sama at once, said Shizune, as what she was witnessing could no be allowed to continue on, and sight of her teacher in the medical arts be humiliated from this could no longer be tolerated. She was stopped by the same blast of power Tsunade and herself felt earlier coming off of Naruto to make them both realize it was not Jiraiya who was responsible for that, but the Saiyan himself. Be silent. Unless you wish for me to make a shadow clone and do the same to you right here right now right beside her, said Naruto making Shizune take a small jump back, her butt clenching slightly in reflex at the image of the blonde Saiyan doing this act to her own rear end, and inadvertently dropped taunton with the pig charging forward to help her owner. Only to be caught by Naruto tail and thrown back to Shizune without missing a single beat slap to Tsunade's ass. Stop. Please stop. I can't take it anymore, said Tsunade, as she could no longer tolerate the abuse her butt was taking, and could only hope he would stop. Giving her rear end one last slap, Naruto let the slug Sannin roll off of his knee onto the ground, and walked away from her with Jiraiya running up a nearby lamp post when the Saiyan got near him out of fear of his ass being next. However, Naruto ignored Jiraiya, and Shizune for that matter for Hinata before picking the Hyuga girl up in his arms. Unlike Jiraiya, I could care less if you are Hokage of Konoha, but I do care about the girl here, who needs your medical skills in being treated, and have her injuries sustained by her own cousin be healed. Once you've gotten off the ground, pulled your pants up, and gotten over the shock of this, I expect you to do your job in healing her, said Naruto before he walked away with Hinata in his arms. Damn that brat. I'll get him for this, said Tsunade, as tears ran down her face while it was red with embarrassment and anger at this humiliating act against her while saving what little pride she had left in herself. How could he even do that? I saw him take one of your punches right to his face, said Shizune while seeing Jiraiya make his way back to the ground. You both really want to know. Join me for a drink. What I have to tell you about the kid is major in itself, said Jiraiya while seeing Tsunade had gotten her pants up and saw the death glare coming his way. Fine. But so help me Jiraiya, if you breathe a single word of what you just witnessed to anyone, I'll castrate you with the rustiest blade in all of the elemental countries, and I'll see to it that region of your body is hypersensitive to ensure the pain is 1,000 times worse, said Tsunade while poking him in the chest with enough force behind it to make sure Jiraiya got the point. I've suddenly had a case of amnesia spanning the last 10 minutes. Did I miss something important? Said Jiraiya while Tsunade kept her eyes on him for a few minutes before entering the bar. In a nearby building, the two figures of Itachi and Kisame saw their chance to go after their target before leaving the two Sannin to talk. With Naruto and Hinata, the Saiyan had taken Hinata to a hotel, having stolen Jiraiya's money when he wasn't even looking, and even if he was the blonde would have moved too fast for the Sannin to notice. He put Hinata on the bed and pulled up a chair before sitting in it to watch the girl sleep through her fainting spell after witnessing his unorthodox attack on Senju Tsunade moments ago. Part of him felt guilty in letting her see that, not knowing how she would react to his actions, or if Hinata would report him to her sensei. While many a men would bow to him like a god for his actions, there would be many a women, mostly feminist and dominatrixes, who most likely form a mob, and try to give him an education on the matter of respecting the female gender in their own way. All the Saiyan could do was let out a sigh, feeling his emotions were not stable when it came to his current situation with this girl, or any other girl for that matter in the Leaf. The only one that like him in his age group was apparently Hinata, and even then he was hesitant to get close on that level. While everyone knew about Kyuubi sealed in his gut by this point, regardless of how they knew it, the fact remained many would avoid him like a plague, and thus be hated further by the fools in the Leaf. Not that he cared about friends in the village since most of the people in it were assholes anyway, but there were some among its people worth respecting, and even defend if such a need came. Still, such thoughts were for another time, and another place outside of this one to think about. What he should be thinking about was this Hyuga girl before him and what she now thought of him after seeing his actions against Tsunade. Naruto-kun, please spank me again. I've been a naughty girl, said Hinata with a smile on her face and letting out a giggle before swooning in her faint-induced sleep. Okay. That answers my question, thought Naruto with a sweat drop coming down his face before hearing someone knocking on the door and he had to get it. Uzumaki Naruto, said the shorter of the two straw hat-wearing figures after the blonde opened the door. I am. What do you want? Said Naruto while sensing the bloodlust from the taller one and knew they weren't from the Book of the Month Club. We are members of the Akatsuki. You are to come with us at once, said Itachi while Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. And why should I go with you? And I want to hurt something, over here. I easily sensed his bloodlust when I arrived earlier, said Naruto while pointing at Kisame. Because we are here to help you on behalf of our organization that has your best interest at heart, Naruto-san. The Akatsuki organization wishes to help remove your burden that the late Yondaime Hokage sealed into you, said Itachi seeing Naruto's face get serious. Maybe I don't want your help. The last guy, who told me what was in my best interest turned out to be a bastard, and I had to kill the Hokage for his stupidity, said Naruto while Itachi and Kisame were shocked that the rumors were in fact true. So you killed the Sandaime Hokage. Not bad Gaki, said Kisame with a sense of praise in his voice. I try. But to the question regarding me coming with you, I'll pass. Oh phi, good luck with the whole, being openly gay, thing you two, and the rest of the organization you're in have going, said Naruto before he began shutting the door in front of him, but Kisame grabbed it, and moved it open with an angry look on his face. Or not gay. Kisame with his face nearly in Naruto's own while the Saiyan smirked at him. Says two guys in an all-boys club, with no women. You guys must really be sausage lovers, said Naruto seeing Kisame's race going purple since his face was naturally blue and was going red with rage to cause the facial coloring. There is one woman in the group, said Itachi while Kisame was reaching back to grab his sword. One woman. Out of your whole damn group. She must be lesbian then. Shame really. So many guys around her and yet not a single woman for her to be happy with while in your little gay group. That's just sad, said Naruto while Kisame looked even madder and even Itachi had an eyebrow twitching. We, not gay. Yelled Kisame while unwrapping a part of his weapon and got ready to bring it down on Naruto. Are you metrosexual? Said Naruto curiously. No. Yelled Kisame with Naruto just smirking at him. Then you're gay, said Naruto before finally shutting the door on the two. Oh, that little shit is so dead, said Kisame before kicking down the door, and Itachi just sighed knowing his partner was being provoked on purpose. Though to what end, the Uchiha didn't know, and was beginning to think that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was suicidal. When Kisame entered the room, he saw the window was open, but their target wasn't in the room, and neither was the Hyuga girl with him. Heading to the window, they both saw a blonde-haired boy flying off, and carrying the Hyuga girl with him in his arm. The two members of the Akatsuki were baffled by this, despite seeing this more than once, and wondered how this was even possible. Was it a bloodline? A high elemental affinity for wind perhaps? What should we tell Pain-sama? Said Kisame seeing one of the last Uchiha in the world beside him. We will tell him what we saw and what we know, Kisame. We then will figure out how to answer these questions at a later time. All the boy knows is that our organization is interested in him. Nothing more, said Itachi before they left, and Kisame sneering at the direction Naruto flew off to. You don't think I'm gay, right Itachi? Said Kisame to his partner. Said Itachi while Kisame didn't like that response. And what the hell does that mean? Said Kisame while Itachi refused to answer him with a single word or sentence. Said Itachi while Kisame looked even more pissed off. Itachi. Come on. Answer my question, damn it, said Kisame while still looking upset by his partner's actions. At Tsunade's hotel suite. So that's what happened, said Tsunade, as she was in a chair, sitting on an ice pack, and hearing how Naruto became what he was now. Yeah, Sarutobi-sensei really screwed him over when growing up, and ironically enough it was Orochimaru's interference on the seal that caused the change to occur. The old man quickly feared Naruto's new power, his attitude, and what he would do with it now that secrets were revealed to the blonde Gaki, said Jiraiya while just finished his explanation of just about everything he knew about Naruto's appearance and power to Tsunade. What about the Hyuga girl? He said she was injured, said Shizune, having sit through the entire explanation with Tsunade, and to admit the blonde Saiyan did scare her a bit. Hyuga Hinata. Her cousin Neji, who is in the branch family of the clan, nearly killed her during the Chunin exam preliminaries, and the action itself pissed off Naruto to no end. Beat the Hyuga brat within an inch of his life. Reminds me of the beating you gave me when I saw you naked in the hot springs when we were younger, said Jiraiya, seeing the Sannin in front of him, looked surprised by how far Naruto was willing to go for that girl. Is this a private party or can anyone join? Said Naruto, as he entered the room via the window, and put the still out of it Hyuga girl on the bed. I hope you weren't getting fresh with her while she's unconscious in your arms, Gaki, said Tsunade with narrowed eyes while Naruto just smirked at her before his face turned serious. Spare me the pointed look. I need you to examine Hinata of her injuries. That's the only reason I'm on this trip, said Naruto before leaning against the wall while his tail moved around him. Nodding, Tsunade along with Shizune began to do an examination of the Hyuga girl on the bed, and with Jiraiya's information on what Neji did to her was able to pinpoint the problem easily. The problem now was the girl needed to be in a hospital where surgery was required to operate and fix the severity of the injury. I can fix this, but I need to do surgery, and the only place with the advanced equipment to do it is in Konoha, said Tsunade while sighing to herself, knowing this was not her day. Great. All the more reason to come back with us to become Hokage, said Jiraiya, but his face of joy became one of fear at the sight of Tsunade glaring at him to shut up, and then Naruto for other reasons. I never said I was going to be Hokage, Jiraiya. If I did come back, it would be to do the surgery, and then I'm gone, said Tsunade while Naruto scoffed at her. And leave your grandfather's legacy in the hands of someone like Danzo. He's already made a move for it in the event you don't do the job. What do you think he's going to do should that old bastard become Hokage? Said Naruto, seeing Tsunade flinch, and knew she had a good idea of what was going to happen. Such a scenario is not my problem, Gaki, said Tsunade while hearing a growl come from Naruto's throat. Your grandfather's village is not your problem. I don't believe this shit. What happened to the feared Senju Tsunade, who could shatter a mountain with a single punch, and make the ground shake with stomp of her foot? What happened to the woman with the power to make her enemies tremble in fear just her angry glare alone? Because from what I've seen here before me, you're not that woman. You are not the Senju Tsunade of legend. Jiraiya would go on and on about while trying to find you. The woman before me is a shadow of that person. You want to leave Konoha after fixing Hinata-chan's injuries. Fine. Leave the village to its intended ruin by Danzo's hands when he becomes the new Hokage. But don't come back afterwards, and don't look back either, because it's a view you won't like in the slightest. Besides, you think Danzo is going to let you wander around for long? He's going to send his loyal subordinates after you and your assistant to either put you down or turn you into a mindless drone, said Naruto, hearing Tsunade growl this time at him. Shut your mouth, brat. You don't know anything, said Tsunade with Naruto frowning and walking right up to the woman before he quickly grabbed her by the throat with the pull forward to bring the Sannin down so they were staring at each other face to face. I don't know anything. I know enough. I know Konoha needs you if it's to survive and have a chance of redemption under your rule. If Danzo becomes Hokage, I will see to it that his reign is the shortest one in history by blowing the village up, and burying what is left of my enemies in the crater I leave behind. After I'm done with that, I'm coming after you, and the spanking I gave you earlier today will seem like love taps compared to the beating I'll give to your body for neglecting your birthright, said Naruto while glaring daggers into the slug Sannin. Tsunade's face went pale with fear, as her rear end was still sore from the assault Naruto had launched against it not that long ago, and knew the Saiyan would make good on his threat. He had the power, the muscle, and was an Uzumaki by blood, meaning the blonde brat would use all of his arsenal to back it up. Fine. You want me to return and stay in Konoha? I will. I'll heal the girl and take up the title of Hokage. If only to make sure that Danzo-tem doesn't screw up my grandfather's village and fix what Sarutobi-sensei broke after coming out of retirement. But if you so much as speak of what you did to me to anyone, I don't care how strong you are, I will make you pay, and pay dearly for it, said Tsunade with a threat of her own while Naruto just smirked at seeing the fire in those eyes he had not seen since meeting the woman. Now that's more like it. People will finally fear you again like they were meant to from the start, said Naruto before letting the woman go and walked over to Hinata coming out of her fainting-induced sleep. Naruto-kun. Where are we? Did we succeed in our mission? Said Hinata, as she saw her crush slowly come into view, and found herself on a nice comfortable bed. That we did. Sadly, Tsunade can't heal you here like we first thought, and we all have to go back to Konoha to do some surgery, said Naruto seeing Hinata look sad by this news. Where my father is waiting for me, said Hinata with Naruto frowning. As if I'd let him put that seal on your forehead, said Naruto with Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune frowning. You mean the cage bird seal? Am I hearing this right? That archaic thing is still being used by the Hyuga clan, said Tsunade seeing the Saiyan look at her with cold eyes. Yeah. What we would call archaic they would call a tradition of their clan, said Naruto growling with Tsunade joining him in making a similar noise. Just another thing that needs to be fixed when you become Hokage of the Leaf, said Jiraiya putting in his 2 cents. As if they would ever let me, said Tsunade seeing Jiraiya smirk at her. Funny thing about the laws of Konoha, they have ways of being interpreted, and used in ways that can get around certain things like clan affairs, and this is one of them. In the charter of Konoha regarding the Hyuga clan, it states that if a tradition of a clan has become outdated, even barbaric by the Hokage, and the majority of the clan heads it is the right of the leader of the village to abolish such a tradition if not alter it to live with the times, said Jiraiya seeing Tsunade frown at him and Hinata looking doubtful. But the K kidnapping when IW was 3 years old J just proved how much it was needed, said Hinata while Jiraiya shook his head. Actually, it just proved the tradition should be changed to include all of the Hyuga with a seal, and not just the branch family. To prevent another war, your father was supposed to be handed over to Kumo in order to keep the peace between the two villages, but his twin brother Hazashi went in his place due to looking just like him, and because he had the cage bird seal on his head. Had everyone in the Hyuga clan had such a seal, your father wouldn't worm his way out of his intended death, and your much kinder uncle would have taken over as the new clan head, said Jiraiya with Tsunade frowning at his words and Hinata looking even more depressed by this. Wait a second. If that's the case, then why didn't the Sandaime, or ever the Yondaime use such a law to interfere until now, said Tsunade seeing Jiraiya look sad. Because my late student died before he could and as for sensei. He probably felt the status quo was needed to keep the Hyuga in his pocket since they have a great deal of influence in the village. My guess is, they worked out a partnership where he didn't use the law, and they support every decision sensei made with the people following their example, said Jiraiya seeing Tsunade scowl since politics in terms of the whole, you scratch my back I'll scratch yours, type of thing really pissed her off. Did I mention how I hate politics? Said Tsunade with Naruto smirking at her. So, if they don't like your way of doing things, then just scare them into it with a show of strength, and if that doesn't work, try something else, said Naruto while Tsunade just raised an eyebrow at him while Jiraiya just grinned. That's an interesting way of thinking Gaki, said Jiraiya while Naruto just smirked. Perhaps, but it gets the job done, and it's the only way to keep those assholes in line until our new Hokage installs some more level-headed management, said Naruto simply. What about my clan? My father will move for me to have the cage bird seal placed on my forehead the moment I set foot into Konoha. He won't be easily intimidated by any show of force, said Hinata, as she saw Tsunade think it over, and smirked when an idea came her mind. You become my student, said Tsunade at last while Hinata's eyes nearly exploded from their sockets. Why your student? Said Hinata while Jiraiya looked stumped and so did the others in the room. Absolutely. Jiraiya here is taking on Naruto as a student and I can easily take you on as one with Shizune helping me out when my duties as Hokage require my full attention. It's in the very laws of Konoha that if someone from a clan, who is taken on as an apprentice by the Hokage, or someone of equal rank like a Sannin of the Leaf Village then that clan the student is from cannot interfere in their studies. Do you accept? Said Tsunade, as she had a feeling this girl had potential, and the Byakugan eyes with the gentle fist made the potential Hinata had go up. I would be honored, said Hinata excitedly before letting out an eep, and bowed in a humble manner. All right. First thing we do when I get back to Konoha is do the necessary surgery to fix your current conditions surrounding your heart, Hinata, become Hokage to keep order in the village, and then finally make everything official on paper for you to be my student, said Tsunade, seeing Naruto nodding in approval. Good. Oh, there's one thing I need to ask you, Jiraiya, said Naruto, with the Sannin now turning his attention to the Saiyan. What about? Said Jiraiya curiously. Who are the Akatsuki? I had 2 of their members visit me before coming here with Hinata, said Naruto, with Jiraiya going pale since this was unexpected. Oh shit. They paid you a visit, said Jiraiya, slightly panicky since he didn't expect this to happen so soon since the organization was still young and still growing. Who are they, Jiraiya? Said Tsunade with a scowl and her arms crossed in front of her. They're a group of S-class missing nin, who are hunting down Jinchuriki like Naruto, but for what reason my spies haven't been able to learn, and needed time to gather, said Jiraiya, with Naruto frowning at him. And you were going to tell me this, when exactly? Said Naruto while heading towards Jiraiya with intent to hurt the Sannin, with the man backing up against the wall. Soon. To be honest, I thought I had more time to gather more intel, and train you to fight them when the time came. They're actually moving ahead of schedule from what my spy high up in the organization first told me, said Jiraiya, seeing Naruto clench his fists. And how reliable is your spy? How high up is he in the Akatsuki? Said Naruto, with Tsunade looking at Jiraiya too with interest in wanting to know this information. High up. One of the members of group that reports and makes decisions that need to be addressed. I can't go into further detail, but make no mistake, the source is reliable, and can be trusted with giving me key information. I imagine this recent action by them was unexpected for my spy and didn't have a means to tell me about it sooner. If he did, then I could have prepared for it, and given you some additional training while here. Who is it that paid you a visit? It has to be a pair that are among those assigned by the leader of the organization himself, said Jiraiya, seeing Naruto remember the 2 that visited him. One was a tall guy with blue skin, sharp teeth like a shark, and had a sword on his back with a scratched-off mist headband. The other had black hair, black eyes, shorter than the first guy, and looked like an older version of Sasuke, said Naruto, with Jiraiya's eyes now widening in shock. Hoshigaki Kisame, formerly of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist, and his partner Uchiha Itachi, formerly of Konoha, with the title of Murderer of the Uchiha clan under his belt, said Jiraiya, with Naruto's eyes widening now. Uchiha. He's related to Sasuke, said Naruto curiously, with Jiraiya nodding. He's Sasuke's older brother. When you and Sasuke were 8 years old, he set out to kill every single Uchiha in the village, with Sasuke being the only one to survive it. Since that night, word got out about how Itachi killed almost everyone, and the councils along with the village itself have seen fit to spoil the child at every turn in hopes such acts would be returned upon ascending to a high rank in Konoha, said Jiraiya, with Tsunade letting out a growl, knowing those idiots would get poor results in giving things to an Uchiha and get absolutely nothing in return. And how has that been working out for them? Said Tsunade, though she already knew the answer to the question. He's eating out of their hands and has grown arrogant. Thinks the village and the world should bend to his whims simply because he's the last Uchiha in Konoha, said Jiraiya, while Naruto scoffed since that wasn't the half of it. Add to the fact my so-called Junin sensei is giving him secret training on the side while I was left to do nothing just makes it worse. Gave the Tem Taijutsu training while he had me work on chakra control. I did D-ranked mission myself since my so-called teammates didn't want to lift a finger doing manual labor and they still got paid for it, said Naruto, since he felt it was a travesty in his mind. You do work and get paid. You don't and you get nothing. I'll look into that and handle things accordingly when we get back. As for the Akatsuki hunting you, we'll have to deal with this without the council's knowing, since it will just give them ammo to use against you, and use it as an excuse to control your movements in the village, said Tsunade, seeing Naruto nod in agreement. When do you want to head back? Said Naruto, seeing Tsunade considering her options for when they should return to the village. In a few days. I want another fight with you. A one-on-one fight. If you win, I'll give you this, said Tsunade, holding the necklace of her grandfather. And if I lose, said Naruto, knowing that was how bets work. I get your tail as a trophy, said Tsunade, seeing Naruto's eyes widen and then narrow at her. Hell no. You won't touch his tail. Let me out. Let me out so I can kill that bitch. yelled Kyuubi, as she wasn't going to let this Senju pull her hunky vessel's precious Saiyan tail from his body, and wanted to do her own damage to the woman. Deal, said Naruto while Kyuubi was telling him to be careful since she may go for it from the start. The next day, are you two ready? Said Jiraiya with Tsunade looking focused, and so was Naruto since his Saiyan tail was on the line. Ready, said Naruto and Tsunade at the same time. Fight, said Jiraiya while Hinata and Shizune watched silently from the sidelines. Tsunade charged at him first, intent on hitting him full strength, and completely sober so there would be no excuses. Naruto wrapped his tail around his waist, and began blocking Tsunade's attacks using his skills in taijutsu he had learned from Guy when training for the entire month before the Chunin exam finals. Blocking a punch to his face, Naruto countered with an open palm thrust to Tsunade's stomach, sending the woman skidding back roughly 10 feet, but her use of chakra to the feet prevented the loss of balance, and the Sannin soon-to-be Hokage rubbed her stomach. She knew Naruto was holding back his strength, as he used much more of it to hold her down when the Saiyan had spanked her ass red, and no doubt wanted to keep things from getting too crazy on his end. Tsunade healed her injury and came at him again while finding her body was feeling more energy than usual, though the slug Sannin chalked it up to not being hungover from the previous night of intense drinking. What Tsunade didn't know was the Kyuubi's chakra from the time Naruto spanked the woman the day before had made its way to the jewel seal on her forehead designed to help heal either herself or others in need of such severe medical treatments to save them from death. However, the Kyuubi's chakra had effectively altered the makeup of such a thing, and began to turn back the clock on the woman and give her renewed life to a certain point. It wasn't hard for Kyuubi to figure it out, as Uzumaki Mito had a similar jewel seal on her forehead too, and the fox knew all about Tsunade adopting it since time within Uzumaki Kushina had allowed the vixen now residing in Naruto to learn about what it did. Kushina always assumed that because the fox was pinned down at the time by her own complex seal, the vixen herself had her ears up, and listening to every word spoken. Tsunade had explained the design of her seal to Kushina, telling her it was just like Mito's, and could do wonders for those in need of saving. Not bad, brat. You got some skills, said Tsunade throwing out a leg to kick Naruto in the ribs, but the Saiyan had caught it, and smirked at her. Same to you. You're not near my level of strength, but I have to admit, that kick tickled my ribcage, and much better than the punch you threw at my face yesterday, said Naruto before throwing the woman away from him. I have to admit, I'm feeling a bit better today than I did in quite some time, and for some strange reason I suspect you had a hand in it somehow, said Tsunade before rushing him once again with more speed in her steps. Really? Well then, if that's the case I should spank you more often, said Naruto while Tsunade's face became red and saw red before charging at him with the intent of causing the boy pain. I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to stick it on the wall above my chair for all to see, said Tsunade, as she threw another punch, but Naruto went to the air, and let her fist hit the ground to make a nice crater. You have to catch me first, and until you let the temper of yours settle down, I'm not heading down, said Naruto with a grin that would have made another Saiyan in another dimension proud. What? Get down here and take your lumps, Gaki. You can't stay up there forever, said Tsunade while shaking her fist at him. Want to make a bet, Tsunade-chan? And to make it interesting, the loser of the bet gets their ass spanked, said Naruto seeing Tsunade narrow her eyes at him and saw Jiraiya snicker while Shizune looked away while blushing. From the look on the slug Sannin, this may be the one bet Tsunade dare not take, and for once would err on the side of caution by not taking the bet. Omake Naruto's hotel room. Shizune didn't know why she was heading to Naruto's room. Maybe it was to warn him about the significance of the necklace he now wore from winning the bet after the beating Tsunade in combat. Maybe it was to scold him for spanking Tsunade in the middle of a public street, which she still couldn't believe happened, and even more that no one was around to see it outside of their little group. In any case, Shizune needed to see Naruto, and set things straight before they left for the leaf. Naruto-san, said Shizune after knocking on his room's door. What is it? Said Naruto when he opened the door, sweat coming off his exposed upper torso from doing intense physical training, and saw Shizune's face turn red from seeing it. How can he be that muscled? Thought Shizune while perverted things ran freely in her mind. Shizune. Earth to Shizune, this is ground control. Come in, Shizune, said Naruto seeing the spaced out look on Shizune leave the woman and refocus on the task at hand. Oh. Sorry Naruto-kun. I was distracted by something, said Shizune while trying to focus on talking to Naruto instead of picturing herself doing things to Naruto. Clearly. Why are you here? Said Naruto with Shizune moving her eyes from his to his body and back again. I needed to talk to you about Tsunade-sama and that necklace you're now wearing, said Shizune while seeing the necklace on Naruto's sweaty body made him even hotter. Is it really that important? Said Naruto while seeing the blush rising on the woman's face. Yes. Can I please come in? Said Shizune while Naruto opened the door further to let her into the room. Sure. Jiraiya's out doing his research right now, so we have plenty of time to talk, said Naruto before letting the woman in and then locking the door after shutting it. Hours later, Shizune stumbled forward out of Naruto's apartment, nearly tripping from the fact one of her sandals barely attached to her foot just like the rest of the clothing that was clinging to her body, and was caught by Naruto's tail. The Saiyan just smiled at the woman, who looked at him, and gave a simple nod, though she still had a zombie-like look in her eyes before stumbling to her own designated room shared by Tsunade. All she had wanted was to talk to Naruto, nothing more than talk like civilized people, but somehow Shizune had found herself thrown into a world of hot passionate sex for the past few hours. He was her first and for some reason suspected the Saiyan had spoiled her for any other man. Shizune. What the hell happened to you? Why do you look like that? Said Tsunade seeing Shizune ignore her when entering their shared hotel room and reach for a bottle of sake the woman knew the soon-to-be fifth Hokage carried around to drink herself silly before guzzling it down like it was water. Can't talk. Drinking sake. Tired. Need nap, said Shizune before downing the sake and then headed for the bed while Tsunade feared the worst from Jiraiya and searched him out. With Naruto, the Saiyan blonde smiled at another conquest, which was unintentional at the time, and knew that eventually Tsunade would find out. Though whether or not Tsunade suspected Naruto being intimate with Shizune was entirely up to the fifth Hokage to figure out. She could question the younger woman later of the events, but the Senju woman would have taken out her anger on someone else, and Naruto had a pretty good idea on who the poor soul was that Tsunade was going to lash out at. Jiraiya takes Tsunade's hits and I get the spoils of conquest, thought Naruto with a grin while safely putting away Shizune's panties in a ceiling scroll. And turned to the sound of things being destroyed outside and the girly screams coming that followed soon after. Get back here, pervert. You deflowered Shizune. Yelled Tsunade while the sound of things being destroyed, smashed, obliterated, and annihilated were heard all over the city. I didn't do anything to Shizune. I swear it. Wait. No. Stop. Have mercy. Yelled Jiraiya, as he tried to dodge Tsunade's unexpected fury, and failing miserably since the woman caught his leg before slamming him onto the ground with a massive beating soon following. Never. Yelled Tsunade, as she proceeded to beat Jiraiya's body without mercy, and once more within an inch of his life. Soon Naruto-kun. Soon I will be free and then all the world will shake from our time together. Wahahahahahahah. Said Kyuubi, as she could wait until it was time to be free, and get a piece of her stud for a vessel with naughty ideas running through her head. In her own private room, Hinata was thinking the same thing, and perverted thoughts also flood her mind. End Omake number 2 Neji's punishment, release me at once Naruto-san, said Neji, as he was tied to a training post, wearing the horrible green spandex, and the orange leg warmers with his hair being cut to mimic that of his own weird Junin-sensei. Nope. This is your punishment for hurting Hinata. So suck it up and deal with it, said Naruto before putting a seal tag on the Hyuga's mouth with a simple genjutsu attached to make it seem like the Hyuga's mouth was shut. You are truly evil Naruto-kun, said Kyuubi, as she giggled perversely in his head, and had to admit his sadistic streak was turning her on. I know. Now for the last piece for his teammate and Junin-sensei to see, thought Naruto before placing a simple note on Neji's body and then left while ignoring the muffled cries from the Hyuga boy. Sometime later Guy, Tenten, and Lee headed to their usual training ground to train while being unable to find Neji. Tsunade had healed Lee up and told him to do light training while emphasizing on the light part with the threat of doing worse than Gaara did to his body in the Chunin exam preliminaries if the genin over-exceeded the order. When they got to their intended destination, Tenten's jaw dropped while Guy and Lee were ecstatic at the sight currently before them. Hyuga Neji was almost an exact clone of them in almost every single way, minus the hair color not being the same and eyebrows not being bushy. Naruto didn't know how to make them like that and personally didn't want to know should the knowledge ever fall into the wrong hands to make an arm of Meta guy lookalikes. Though who would do that was beyond anyone's guess. Attached to Neji was a note, which they all read, and the Hyuga could only look on in shame knowing his ability to speak in his defense was secretly taken away from him. I Hyuga Neji, am a poor misguided soul in need of help in igniting my flames of youth, and to start myself on the correct path have done this to myself. I have also sealed my mouth shut to ensure that my Hyuga pride does not become vocal in ordering my sensei and teammates in freeing me from this position. Please use whatever means necessary or at your disposal Guy Sensei and Lee-san to help me find my flames of youth. Sincerely, Hyuga Neji, Yash. Neji is trying to embrace his flames of youth. Yelled Guy with Lee shouting how he would help Guy Sensei with Neji igniting his flames of youth. Hence began an infamous three-way hugging with a sunny backdrop genjutsu appearing out of nowhere in a background between Meta Guy, Rock Lee, and Hyuga Neji. The poor Hyuga wanted to scream out in protest, but was unable to, as his worst nightmare came to pass, and his mind forever scarred if not shattered by what he was experiencing at this very moment. As for Tenten, she got the hell out of there since the sight before her was just too much. What's the rush Tenten? Said Naruto having secretly moved into position so she would, conveniently, bump into him. Oh. Naruto-san. Sorry for running into you. I just had to get away from my team, said Tenten while finding her hands were on his shirt-covered torso and blushed feeling the muscle behind it. What's wrong with your team? They're acting stranger than usual, said Naruto though he already knew why. Yeah, you could say that, said Tenten nervously since he didn't want to tell him about it on account of it being so embarrassing. We can go to my home and you can tell me about it. I don't mind listening. We can trade stories about our senseis, said Naruto with Tenten looking unsure at first, but the echo from where she fled of her team shouting, "Flames of Youth Ignite," helped, and decided to take the Saiyan up on his offer. Sure. Lead the way. Though I need to do some intense training afterwards, said Tenten while Naruto just smiled and showed her to his home. Hours later, wow, said Tenten, as she was in Naruto's bed, naked, her usually well-kept bun hair now flowing freely, her body glistening with sweat after she had sex with Naruto, who was beneath her, and humming to himself. How's that for training? Said Naruto with a proud smirk on his face while seeing the young Kunoichi having that odd look on her own face. The best, said Tenten simply while Naruto smirked at her and let out a chuckle. Damn straight. Up for another round, said Naruto seeing Tenten look at him now with a bit of joy mixed with fear. Huh, said Tenten while her eyes widened at feeling a certain something connected to her the waist was ready for more. You wanted an intense training session Tenten-chan and now you're going to get it, said Naruto before he flipped Tenten over onto her back and attacked. What have I gotten myself into? Thought Tenten before her mind soon became mush from Naruto's sexual attack on her body. She was going to be sore for quite a while. End omake. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.